Hi and welcome to another episode of Starting From Scratch. I'm Mark the Window Cleaner. This show brought to you by windowcleaningresource.com and the GlassRenu system. Well, today we're going to talk about pricing. I'm sure you know if you've watched the last 2 or 3 videos I've done, it's great to learn about how, the learning curve of how to actually do the repair work. But I'm sure the number 2 question as to how to do it is how much money can I make doing it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And before I get into my little speech on it, I just wanted to let everybody know that if they haven't seen it yet, you can go up to the windowcleaningresource.com forum and go into the Video Central section, the subsection there in the forum, and you'll see that there's a video series called Restoration Revolution. And in episode 6, this is a series that was done by Cody of GlassRenu. He talks in great detail about pricing, starting off with your base costs, your overhead, materials, and whatnot, and then goes into glass pricing. How much is it? Could it cost in his area per square foot? Adding all these things together, all these elements together to get your estimate. Then at the end of all that, he goes into, well, let's do a comparison to what it would cost to get the window replaced, and we're going to try to aim for 30% of that replacement cost as our estimate. Well, in my talk here, I'm going to actually start backwards. I'm going to start with the bottom line, which is really what it comes down to, is a majority of GlassRenu users are finding in the field that they're getting about 30% of what it would cost to actually replace the glass. So I'm going to provide you now with a case study, and the last few days I've contacted 5 different glass companies. I've given them the example of a storefront window which is 7 feet by 5 feet. So in other words, 35 square feet of glass. How much is it going to cost to replace if it's plate glass window, annealed glass? How much is it going to cost if it's tempered glass? And anyway, out of the 5, only 3 would actually give me pricing. 2 of the other ones, they wanted to actually go to the job, which is kind of impossible to do because it's a fictional job. But the other 3 did give me pricing, but they didn't want to give me square foot install pricing. They just basically said, okay, this is how much it's going to cost for plate glass. This is how much it's going to cost for tempered. So for a 5 foot by 7 foot storefront window, the average pricing for just regular plate glass window was around $700. And if you divide that by the square footage, which is 35, it comes out to basically $20 per square foot installed. So even though they said they didn't want to give me an install price, that's basically what I'm working it out to. For the tempered glass, or the toughened glass, some people like to use the term toughened glass, the lowest price I got was $825, and the highest price I got was $890, and I think the middle price was about $875. Squash all those 3 numbers together, you come up with an average price of about $880 for the tempered glass. Divide that again by the square footage, 35, and it works out to just under $25 a square foot. Now, getting back to Cody's video from GlassRenu, actually these numbers are right in line with the numbers that he came up with for San Francisco area. Here in Toronto, basically around the same pricing. This is good to know, and you might even get the identical pricing in your town. I don't know if you're from a big city or a small community, prices might be a little bit up in one area or down in another. Either way, it's a good starting point. So $20 for regular plate glass, $25 for tempered. Now, like I said in the beginning there, we're going to be shooting for 30% of replacement cost. So let's use the plate glass as an example. So $700 installed. Okay, 30% of that would be $210. So that's basically what I would call your ceiling. That is, anything under that, you should have a pretty good chance of making the sale. Now that 30% doesn't have to be a permanent ceiling. It could be a floating ceiling. It can go down, it can go up. And of course there's various different scenarios which can affect whether or not you're going to want to raise that or lower that. Let's take a look at some examples right away of where you might lower that. Now let's take, for instance, you're walking down Main Street, USA or Canada there, and you pass by a beauty salon. You see a little bit of acid etch graffiti in the corner. You have no idea how long that's been there. These people didn't call you, but you walk in and you do your little presentation and how you can make this thing look brand new, and it's going to be a lot less than the cost and whatnot. Well, this is cold calling, and let's say this graffiti's been there for 6 months, and it really hasn't bothered the manager, the business owner. You're going to really want to try to charge top dollar. You can, but chances are likely that you'll get the sale a lot easier if you bring it below that 30% mark. I'm not telling you this from experience. I'm just telling, this is common sense. I know myself as a customer how I would react. Yes, you are taking a headache away from them by fixing this, but it was just a small little bit of acid etch graffiti in the corner. Wasn't really in the middle of the glass. Wasn't a big area. They obviously weren't terribly concerned about it. So coming in with very high numbers to them might be a little scary. Another example where you might lower this. Let's say you're doing volume work. A builder calls you up. He says he's got a couple of houses, probably maybe 20, 30 windows tops have got fab debris on them. Okay, you're going to go in there and charge top dollar per window? No, you're probably going to put a nice little package deal. Say, okay, I'm going to charge this much per window, and at least you know what you're going to be faced with, and he'll know what to expect in future jobs down the road. If he does another project, that's the same thing. Oh, I know that Mark here, he charges this much for this, basically this size window. Let's give him a call. He's going to take care of our problems for us. In actual fact, I do recall Cody mentioning either in a video or on the website that he has a couple of customers, and this is mainly what they do. They work for builders, and they might charge $80, $90 per window, and do 8 to 10 windows a day, and you do the math. That's pretty good money. So there's another example. Another example is we're window cleaners, so we're in there, we're doing a window cleaning. Let's say it's a $200, $300 job, and we notice your sliding door has got scratches from the dog. Like the other example, they may have been living with this problem for a while. If you come in there and you just shoot this high number, $200, $300 for a repair, probably going to scare them off. You're doing the window cleaning anyway. You're probably going to want to cut them a little bit of a deal. Tell them, I would normally charge this much for this service, but because I'm here and because you're a good customer and blah, 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 you know how the routine goes. You're going to want to go under there. And lastly, another way where the pricing might be lower than that 30% is, the market, your market. What can your market bear? You've got to go out there and test it. Start off at that 30% and see how many yays and how many nays you get. Anyway, let's talk about where we can actually raise that number from 30%. So, the other situations there, we've basically been spotting the glass and then trying to sell the work. Well, what about when you get a call Monday morning and same beauty salon, that lady calls you up and she says, oh, I just came in, I open up the shop and I see somebody's scratched in FU right across the middle of my glass, and I don't want my customers seeing FU. So, how soon can I get it done? Well, bing, 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 you've got a little bit of leverage there. Okay, if I'm going to get in there, make time for this customer, solving the problem, not just the fact that he has scratches, but they've put profanity on the windows and it's going to look horrible for their customers. You've got something to play with there, and you could probably go up. If you've already tested the market and you know what 30%, what kind of a return rate you're getting, it might give you an idea how much more you can charge on there. And another area where you obviously would raise the price, let's take a look at the damage size. It's just a small little area like this, just somebody's initials or something, or just something scraped up against the glass. You'd be charging a lot less, as opposed to, if that 5x7 scenario case study that we talked about had, it was riddled with graffiti or had very large sections of graffiti. It's obviously going to take a little bit longer. So there's another chance where you can play with that 30%. You're probably going to want to raise it at that point. Another example is certain store chains. Some have more concern about their image than others. Keeping up appearances. These are the customers that are more likely to have a window cleaner come more frequently. They're less likely to say no to raising your pricing. These kind of customers would probably be a little bit easier going, if you come in there with a bit of a high price. And I know, basically, when you're pricing jobs out for these people, going in there, knowing what the price should be, giving it to them, you are saving them a headache, and that's just something that you have to get across too when you're doing your pricing. In this particular case, you're saving them certain money on replacement. And so your approach to selling has got to be in their benefit. In other words, you're not going to go in there and say, well, yeah, we usually charge 30% of replacement cost. You do that right away. It's showing them how much money is going to you. Really what you want to do is you want to go in and say, listen, with our GlassRenu system and our technicians, our goal is to try to save you up to 70% off what it would cost to replace. And right away, it's not money spending, it's money saving to them. You're taking care of a headache. And you can add other points, like for instance, in the pricing I got for the glass replacement from these local companies here, the one who charged, or was going to charge the highest price, $890 for the tempered glass, he was going to also charge $130 just to come and measure for the glass. So add that on top. So that's something else that you can also mention to customers. Listen, it's going to cost X amount of dollars for them to replace the glass. Half the guys are also going to charge you a measuring charge. You're going to have disruption in service in your clients. If it's a storefront, people might not be able to go into the store at a particular time when they're doing this work. You come in, you say, listen, I'm going to come in 45 minutes, an hour. I'm going to make this window look new. No disruption of your service. You don't have to worry about replacement costs, insurance costs. Sometimes they might want to use insurance if it's really a big job, but if it's like $150, $200 repair, they probably just, it's a write-off anyway to them, so it's probably going to work. Now, going back over, how much does it cost per square foot to do replacement? That 30% isn't going to always work for you, and this is another area I forgot to mention where you're going to raise that 30% to whatever you need it to be. And this is the case. So let's take a 3 foot by 3 foot window. So doing the math there, 3 foot by 3 foot. So if it's just plate glass window, we're looking at about $180 a glass replacement place is going to charge to do that installation. Now, if you do 30% of that, it only comes out to $54. You're not going to really want to go out there and do $54 on any of your glass restoration jobs. So you're going to have it minimum set in the forefront. So even if you take a look, if it's volume, you might be like $60–70 at the very, very minimum for small windows. But I think on a one repair at a time kind of thing, you're going to probably want to go at least 100 to 150, especially starting off. As a novice user of the GlassRenu system, probably a pretty safe bet. But anyway, I mentioned Cody's video is pretty detailed on what's got to be covered there. I mean, you take a look at what you want to charge. What do you want to bring in an hour? How does that apply to your overhead? Does that cover your overhead? Maybe add that on top. What about materials and supplies for this particular job? You can throw that on top. And you should always plan for profit on top of that. I know as window cleaners, we go out there and we bid jobs and then we come back and say, oh, I made $70 an hour on this particular job. This is a very niche service, and chances are that you're not going to have too many people in your town or community that does this kind of work, and there's a lot of room for sticking more profit on top. And this is why the GlassRenu folks don't recommend that you base your pricing per hour, because if you do that, or even if you price by square footage, these seems to be ways, common sense ways that window cleaners might think, oh, don't you charge by the hour, or don't you charge by the square footage? Like I charge by the window, or I charge by the size of the house, kind of thing. Well, doing so, you could end up leaving money on the table. And really it all comes down to, you got to find out what your market's going to bear. This is part one of pricing. Part two is going to happen probably in a few weeks. I want to just wait until they get the new update on the iPhone estimator application. They're just doing an update on that. And who knows, maybe by then I'll actually be having some real world examples of what I'm finding I'm able to price things out at. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching Starting from Scratch, a window cleaner's guide to glass restoration. Take care.